Hi everyone! Today I want to share another video using the Soft Pastels. Now these are super fun. I've showed a couple videos already, but I'm just kind of keep going because I keep thinking of other ways I want to try using them. And I've done just coloring with them and making a background. I've tried using them with our sponge daubers and doing the pop and pastels technique. I did a video on that, and today the video is going to feature using them with the aqua painter. And the nice thing about that is, yes, we can already use an aqua painter with our ink, so that's true. However, you can't paint with our ink on black cardstock. So the fun thing about the pastels is that they are opaque. So here is my little swatch card of what it looks like to paint directly on black cardstock. So I just kind of want to show you how I swatched this out real quick. And because it's not just super simple, but I mean, it's simple, but it's not as easy. You're going to want to do it a couple ways. You can, and here I'm just swatching out the colors. So you can draw with the pastels onto black cardstock, which is really a fun thing to do. You can also, I'll swatch it again, use your aqua painter, your water painter. Now I'm using my old ones. If you remember that they came out with, Stampin Up came out with a new one. And here it is. I have noticed that the Soft Pastels stain because they're not our water-based ink. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a stain and it's not going to transfer. But I like to keep my newer things pristine. So I want to use my older things with the Soft Pastels. It's just a preference. Just so you know, too, they do stain your blending brushes. Like here are the 3 blending brushes, and I've used them all 3. This one looks perfectly clean. It's been used, I promise you, probably with greens and stuff. And then this one looks like it's been used with some reds. I kind of use similar colors on them. This one cleaned so nicely that it doesn't really matter, but you can see this one has a tiny bit of red dye in it, and this one has blue. Now the blue did rinse out clean when I used it. This is the chalk pastels. I just kind of wanted to see, you know, just playing around, if they blend it out nicely. And the chalk, I would not use the pastels with the blending brushes. It's really hard to get any color. You'll be blending for ages. Sponge daubers are 100 times better, but it also stained my brush because these are not like our inks. They're not water-based inks. They're actually highly pigmented. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that in case you were wondering. So to paint with them, you can color on the cardstock and, you know, just add water if you wanted to, or you can, let me clean that off, you can go and take your stick here and your water and pick up some pigment this way. And if you go over it a couple times, you'll get deeper results. So I kind of made myself a little swatch card of the colors. So as you see, this one's not as deep. I'm going to go over it again. And you can add layers. And also I want to point out that when it dries, it's going to dry more vibrant. Because right now, not only is there's water sitting on there on the cardstock, but also it's making the black cardstock darker, and then as the chalk dries, it's going to dry kind of more on the surface, and you'll get these results. Now you'll see that some colors barely show up, and that would be this purple. It's just such a deep color that it barely shows up, but almost every other color shows up really nicely. So here I did direct to paper with the Soft Pastels. Here I did I did this variety where I went like this and added the color. And then underneath, I just kind of wanted to see what it would look like with, you know, a Q-tip like this. And then I just kind of did a little smudge. So I wanted to see what worked on black cardstock. And I think the direct to paper and the water work really nicely. Okay, so I want to do a couple cards where we paint with the Soft Pastels. And every once in a while I accidentally say chalk pastels. There is a difference. Soft pastels are considered to be more highly pigmented. They have more binding agent in them, whereas a chalk pastel is not really meant for long-term work. So you know, it's more of a, you know, draw on the sidewalk or a menu board that you're going to erase off. It's, you know, just kind of a fun thing. Whereas soft pastels, They kind of have a chalky look to them, but they're a little different. And I don't know, you know, super detailed definitions, but I'm just going to say that these are highly pigmented and they are very nice, and they are, I'm going to stay where you put them. And I think they're pretty vibrant on the black. Okay, so just playing around, I thought, what could I do with that? And I tried, so I thought I would show you that putting the soft pastels directly on the stamp itself, I chose a solid stamp and I kind of got it wet and used the aqua painter to kind of get some on there. It doesn't work super well as a stamp. So that's what that is. You might be able to do some fun things on that. Maybe it would look kind of cute on a white or vanilla, but I didn't care for that. It was a lot of work to get the entire thing covered and I barely can see it. This, however, was easy. I just kind of swashed some color back and forth. So if you wanted to do a nice little background piece of cardstock with the soft pastels, that might be fun. Okay, so let's make some cards. I'm going to use the Color and Contour stamp set. This is a really fun stamp set, but even more fun for me, I have to say, is the dies that go with it. These dies are, I can tell, I'm going to use these dies constantly with or without the stamp set, because there's just so many great layering pieces here, and I love this scallop. So really fun, although you can also use it to cut out the two floral images. But really, you're going to use these rectangle stitch rectangles and scallop rectangles and little dotted rectangles all the time. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and use the tall flower here. And I'm going to use some embossing powder because I can't see where I'm coloring if I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Versamark. And some white embossing powder. While I do the heating up, I always, oh, you know, I didn't get that little edge. Glad I caught that. Although it might be covered by my bow anyway. Let's get it. I must have been holding it down there. Okay. Alright, I'm going to fast forward while I heat it up. Okay, so now I'm going to take my Granny Apple Green and I'm going to do the leaves. To rinse, I just like to kind of hold it over a paper towel or my little Stampin' Scrub. I like the Stampin' Scrub because I'm not using so many paper towels. Then I'm going to grab this lighter of the yellows. This one is, they're saying, is Daffodil Delight, and this one they're saying is Mango Melody. I don't quite get Mango Melody out of that, although it is a slightly oranger color. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of the soft pastel here and paint with it. Okay, now it does look dark right now, and you might be thinking, goodness, how many layers is she going to have to do to make this appear, you know? But as it dries, like I said, it's dark now, but when the water dries, you will get that yellow color. Okay, so we're going to set that aside, and then by the time we put the rest of the card together and we use it, that yellow will be brighter. Okay, so for this card, I have a card base in, oops, oh, I wanted to show you how you can paint on regular watercolor paper as well, just for fun. Okay, so I have a card base in Bumblebee, and I'm going to put that down. It is from the Pansy. The card base is Bumblebee. The DSP, the Designer Series paper, is from the Pansy paper pack. So you can see the pansy on this side, but we're going to use this side. I just wanted a tone on tone here. Wanted to make the chalk the star of the show, or the pastels. I'm going to try and stop saying chalk. It looks like chalk. It reminds me of chalk, so in my brain it's chalk. I've got this tiny little strip of black and white. This is from the Pattern Play, which is a Host Designer Series paper. Usually the Hostess gifts or the Host gifts are just stamp sets, but this time there's a pack of amazing paper, and that's where this is from. I'm just going to add a little strip. I just wanted that graphic black because of the chalk, I think. My brain went there. Okay, and now I've got this. I'm going to layer onto this, but I'll let that dry just another second. And while I do that, we'll make the greeting. So the greeting is, did I already put it away? I did. Alright, I'm going to put that onto a piece of black. Oops, that's not the right piece of black. Cardstock. And again, I'm going to use the Versamark. And my white. And then I'm going to use the tiniest of the dies to cut that out. Alright, now it's time to add these all together. I'm going to layer the black piece onto the white. And I'm going to use this fun gingham ribbon in the Bumblebee. I have to say the whole reason why I chose Bumblebee for the base is because of this ribbon. I really like this ribbon. Alright, I'm going to lay that down, and this I'm going to pop up on some dimensionals right there at the side. Okay, there is my first painting card, and then I have one more to show you. Again, I'm going to make my image with the Versamark and some white embossing powder. All right, if you're like me and you got little strays here, I usually grab a paintbrush. Kind of a junky kid one. And then I just kind of get off my little strays. Okay, and now we're going to paint again. I think I'll take it out of there. See how as I'm painting this purple, you can hardly tell, and you might think to yourself, did I even paint that petal? It's so dark, but it will dry and it will show up. I did tend to go over it several times though. Sorry for the quiet during this video. I am just kind of having fun painting, so I'm in like the zone. All right, what color do I do down there? I think I'll do that bright blue again. This is Coastal Cabana. Okay, so I'm going to let that sit, and then we'll decide whether or not we need to do more of the purple, the gorgeous grape. Meanwhile, we'll put together the rest of our card. So again, I'm using these dies. This is the largest from the Color and Contour, and I just think it's so amazingly wonderful for a background. So we'll go ahead and lay that down on our Coastal Cabana base. All right, and then I've cut myself, where'd it go? A little piece of Coastal Cabana that I used. The same die collection, has that really fun scallop. Let me show you. And I cut off a little bit here, and we're going to put our greeting right on that. Okay, and I wanted a birthday because I needed a couple birthdays, so I didn't use the set that has, I didn't use the sentiments from here because I really wanted a birthday. And so I just grabbed another set that was on my desk that had a birthday, and it's called the In Bloom. It goes with the pierced bloom dies, and so I'm grabbing that for the happy birthday. And this time we're going to emboss in black. I'm really glad that they put black embossing powder back in the catalog. You might not have even known it was gone, because these embossing powders last a ton of years. I don't know how old this is. It's like ancient, because it's just that, you know, you pour it on and shake it off and put it back in the jar, and it's amazing how it doesn't seem to ever go away. And then for a little while we didn't have black embossing powder in the catalog, because what happens is nobody buys it for a long time, and that's because we still had it. Look how big the jars used to be, and then the jars got to be here, and I don't know what they are now, because now they're in like a multi-pack. So next time I need embossing powder, I'll see what they look like. But it does, it just lasts forever. So then they stop, nobody buys it because we still have it all, you know. Although I keep thinking that maybe I need to get more, just because I do want to see what the container looks like these days. And also I get chunks of things because I do stuff like this, and then I end up with chunks of ribbon fiber and, you know, white embossing powder. I'm kind of a messy stamper. So who knows what's in my jar. There was a ton of linen and little pieces of something in my white, so I might need to get some new ones. All right, now I probably should have put this back in the jar before I hit that heat gun on. Okay, I'm done with that. All right, I am going to do another layer of purple. Okay, hopefully that's enough. One thing while we're waiting I want to point out is, you know how we do this technique called the emboss resist, where you emboss something and then you ink over it and the ink does not stay or color the embossed areas. That's not the case with the pastels. The soft pastels are highly pigmented and they're not water-based like our ink. So see how the center of that flower, when I went over it, it did in fact color the white area, the embossed area, and that's okay with me. I just want to make sure that you're aware of it so you don't think, wait a minute, how come it's making my embossed area stain? So this is not good for the emboss resist technique. Just thought I'd point that out. All right, I think I'll hit this with the heat tool. So see, the purple is very dark, but I think it'll start to emerge a little more. You can see on my sample that you do see the purple. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and glue that down. Okay, I normally do not put this much adhesive behind, but because I did all this water and embossing, the paper kind of curls, and so you want to add a little more than you normally would. So that it stays flat. Well, the purple gets covered anyway, so that's why I wasn't too worried about it. But if you don't want your purple covered, you are going to have to do a few layers. Okay, so here we go. Just going to tie a little bow with the white crinkled seam binding ribbon. I hope you've enjoyed my ways to use the soft pastels, and I think I have a couple more ways that I want to try it, and I'll do some videos on those tomorrow or the next day. So if you'd like to be sure not to miss that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can see the next thing to try. I will also post these up at my blog and my Facebook page if you want to come back and reference them or pin them for later use, for ideas of what you're going to paint. There we go. There is the painting with soft pastels, and I'm sure you can come up with all kinds of other ways to paint with it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.